Hey, what up, Internet? We are back with another deck tech. Now, the past couple, I guess this channel's only actually been up for a week. The last three decks, kind of maybe brews you haven't seen before. But this time, we're gonna go old school here, get back to basics. A little black-white Orzhov Lifegain deck. So before I start rambling, let's just go quickly through the deck list again. Or not again, but right now. 3 Ajani's Pridemate, 1 Reprisal, 4 Lone Missionary, 1 Brimaz, King of Oreskos, 2 Mentor of the Meek, 2 Rhox Faithmender, 3 Angelic Accord, 1 Baneslayer Angel, 2 Battlegrace Angel, 1 Angelic Edict, 1 Felidar Sovereign, 3 Ulcerate, 4 Childonite, 2 Vicious Hunger, 1 Tribute to Hunger, 1 Sanguine Bond, Sanguine, I say Sanguine, sue me. 1 Obelisk of Alara, 3 Vizkopa Guildmage, 10 Plains, 6 Swamps, 4 Orzhov Guild Gates, and 4 Radiant Fountains. Alright, so let's go straight to the why. Why play this deck? Why just gain a bunch of life? Well, we have Ajani's Pridemate. He gets bigger every instance of life gain that occurs. So let's say you swing with 4 Childonites, and they all connect. He will trigger 4 times. Let's see, what else? Why gain life? Angelic Accord. Gain 4 more life in a turn. You get a 4/4 white angel token with flying. What else can we do with this life gain? Well, we can actually flip it around and kill them with Vizkopa Guildmage's second ability, or the Sanguine Bond. Sanguine, I'm going to look this up right now, and if I'm fucking it up, then I'll change. Got my handy little iPad here, and let's see. How do you pronounce Sanguine? Sanguine. Let's see. Let's go, iPad. I know it's not an English lesson. Sanguine. Okay, then we'll say Sanguine Bond. I'm sure all the goths in the audience are like, man, what a fucking scrub. He doesn't know anything. Okay. But basically, that's the reason to gain life, and, use that life gain to make dudes, or make a big dude, or just directly attack their life total while gaining life. And that's how you win. Anyways, let's go over to card choices. We got Ajani's Pridemate, as stated before. Every time you gain, every instance of life gain, you may put a +1/+1 counter on him. So let's see all the different ways we can gain life. We have Lone Missionaries, 4 of them. We have a Rhox Faithmender in combat. He's a 1/5 lifelinker. We have the big bad angel herself, the Baneslayer Angel, and she does damage. We have 2 Battlegrace Angels, which gives something lifelink. It even give the Pridemate itself lifelink. What else do we have? We have 4 Childonites. They gain life. 2 Vicious Hungers. That gains life. Tribute to Hunger gains life. Obelisk of Alara. Look at that white mode. We only have access to the white mode and the black mode. With the white mode, you gain 5 life. And Vizkopa Guildmage can give things lifelink to gain life. So, oh, wait, we're not done. And 4 Radiant Fountains to gain life. So, let's go do a quick count of that. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We forgot Felidar Sovereign. He has lifelink. 10, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21. So 21 of our 36 non-land cards. Actually, wait, no, 25. 25, there we go, Radiant Fountains. So 21 of our 36 non-land cards gain life, and 4 of our 24 lands gain life. So, it's a lot. So that's why it's in next. Starts as a 2/2, gets out of control very quickly. There's really no way to give him evasion, but he sits there. He'll eventually attack for a lot. You know, you give that thing lifelink, he'll eventually, you know, gain you a bunch of life and keep growing at the same time. And, you know, when you start combining things, like, you know, activating both ends of Vizkopa Guildmage's ability, or just the first one, and then you have a Sanguine, bond out. You know, Obelisk of Alara grows them. Like, you can end the game pretty quickly. You know, just a bear, 2-drop. Always need 2-drops. We have 17 2-drops. This may be a theme. Last deck had a lot of 2-drops too. Anyway, moving on. 1 Reprisal. You know, I've warmed up to this card a little bit. I like to have at least 1. I don't want to go more than 1. Most of the cards people are playing these days, you're bound to find something to hit. I mean, you know, even hit Kiln Fiends and Rabble Masters in combat with that. Oradex, nail them. All the big guys, nail them. But there you go. Lone Missionary. Lone Missionary enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life. He is only a 2-1. Not very threatening. But, let's see all the things he does. Gains 4 life, buffs, puts a counter on Pridemate. He is a 2 power guy, so you can draw a card off him with Mentor. Now the 4 life is the big thing because the key number to this deck, or number of the day, I mean, was that on Sesame Street? Number of the day is 4. 4 is the magic number. So with this in play, you play Lone Missionary, you gain the 4 life, and then you trigger this end of turn, and then you make a 4/4 Angel. And also, you know, if you have a Sanguine bond, you gain 4, they lose 4. If you get a Vizkopa Guildmage activation, second ability, before the Missionary's trigger stop is done resolving, then you do 4, gain 4. And at the very worst, all he does is just gain you 4 life, and he is a 2/1 body on the ground. So, there you go. And then, you know, if you have Rhox Faithmender out, he gains 8. If you have 2 Rhox Faithmenders out, then it is 2 times 2, so it's 16. There you go. But just know that Angelic Accord can only trigger once a turn. Now you can also get tricky and trigger this on your opponent's turn to gain an Angel Darren step. We'll get to that in a second. Oh, this guy again. You know, the Furry King doesn't really have hardly any synergy with the deck at all, other than with Mentor the Meek. Things his token makes. But, you know, not too much else you can really pack into the deck. I mean, that has synergy. I mean, he's just a powerhouse on his own. I mean, we can go look at the... Let's go look at creatures. 2 to 3 drops. I mean, you putting in any of these things for Brimaz, I mean, yeah, that does gain life if it dies. But we don't have any other... I mean, you know, we do have Child of Knights. But, you know, this is pretty heavy black, and we'll go here. We are more white than black in this deck, so if I can limit the amount of double black cards in the deck, I will. Currently, we only have 2 double black cards in the deck. Actually 3, sorry about that. And that is Vicious Hunger and Sanguine Bond. And let's see, well, I mean, anything else in here? I mean, no. No. So, the Furry King, who is known to, you know, come for all manner of asses. If you have one, he's coming for it. He just makes it in on just reputation and power level alone. You just don't say no to that guy when he tells him to drop those panties. Alright, moving on. Mentor of the Meek. You see him a lot too. You know, white card draw engine. Now, here's the thing. Go here. Where are you at? Alright, so we can either play the Graveborn Muse, which, you know, we gain a lot of life, so the drawback of, you know, losing life is not that big a deal in this deck. But Graveborn Muse also costs 4 and is double black. Whereas Mentor is just a single white and costs 3. And then we can also look at all the creatures that trigger Mentor. 3, 7, the other Mentor, 8, Brimaz tokens, we'll call that 8.5. Both Rhox Faithmenders. So 9, 10. Child of Knights 14. 17. So 17 creatures will trigger the Mentor. I mean, I just think it's easier on the mana, and you have enough guys to trigger them. Like obviously, if Graveborn Muse lives, she needs no help on her own. But like I said, I know I'm playing the Vicious Hunger, but if I can avoid, and the Sanguine Bond, if I can avoid, putting another double block card in the deck, I'll try and avoid it. But I could be wrong here. I prefer Mentor. It's cheaper. I usually always default to the cheaper card. Alright, moving on, Rhox Faithmender, a 1/5 lifelink. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. So remember the magic number 4? Well, with Rhox Faithmender in play, this 2 becomes a 4, which will in turn trigger the Angelic Accord. What else just gains you 2 life? This deals 2 damage and you gain 4 life. With Rhox Faithmender, it now deals 2 damage and you gain 4 life. Child of Knights, when they do damage, they'll gain you 4 life. 4 life is important. Why, kids? Because of Angelic Accord. That is correct. So, and even, just a Faithmender getting into combat by himself, I mean, that's 2 life right there. Grows the Pridemate. And then, when you can start converting that life gain into damage to your opponent, this gets really out of hand. It's like the white version of Furnace of Wrath. If you don't know what Furnace of Wrath is, that is a red enchantment that doubles the amount of damage everything does. So that's Mr. Rhino. You would think that he is the king of, charging asses. You remember those old Blood Ninja chat logs. A rhinoceros, he stomps and alerts you that you're in his breeding area. He ain't got shit on the Furry King. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, look, he's old. He's not into that stuff anymore. Alright, moving on. Angelic Accord. Like I said, another big reason to just be playing all this life gain stuff. You just don't want to gain life just to gain life. It just doesn't do anything. You need to have a purpose for gaining all that life. And that is a very good purpose. So every time you gain 4 more life this turn, so, it's just, doesn't matter if you gain 4 or 20, you're just getting that 1 angel for each Angelic Accord you have in play. So, let's go. Like I said, he comes into play, triggers it. Rhox Faithmender in conjunction with other cards, triggers it. Baneslayer attack, triggers it. Some creatures attacking with the Battlegrace will trigger it. A good thing with the Angelic Accord and the Battlegrace, or if you can give one of those angels lifelink on a regular basis with either Battlegrace or Vizkopa Guildmage, then the angel tokens themselves will self-propagate. And other things you can do, like let's say you have an Angelic Accord out, and you have 2 Child of Knights, and it's your opponent's turn. They swing at you, and you block with 2 Child of Knights. You gain 4 life that turn, so this will trigger at the end of your opponent's end step. Same with if you can manage to gain 4 life off a Tribute to Hunger, or activate an Obelisk on your opponent's turn. Now, doing that, you want to make sure you do it before the end step actually starts, otherwise it'll be too late. But there's that. So, I mean, you just make 4/4 angels just doing what your deck already does. Usually, you got to take a turn to tap out for it. But there is a way to make an angel on the same turn that you cast this. You have, sorry, went the wrong way, a Child of Knight out. And then you swing. Doesn't matter if it lives or dies as long as it gains you to 2 life. Then you play Radiant Fountain. Then on 4 mana, you play Angelic Accord. And then the Angelic Accord will see you actually did gain 4 life that turn. So you can get an angel the very same turn you play Angelic Accord on turn 4. So it's another big reason why I like the Radiant Fountains. A lot of people hate them. I mean, in most decks, I do hate it. But in this deck, I think it's pretty good. And it doesn't really jack up your mana too much. I mean, we're only playing 2 colors. Like if I start getting into like some 3-color odds-on variant of this, like I probably wouldn't play this. And really, I probably just wouldn't play, this deck in 3 colors. So that's Angelic Cord. We got the big bad mama Baneslayer Angel. I don't really have a good nickname for her yet. I'll figure it out eventually. If you've got one, just leave it in the comments. 5/5, flying, first strike, lifelink, protection from demons and from dragons. Need to say anything else? No, we don't. Battlegrace Angel, flying, exalted, and whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains lifelink until end of turn. The big thing, you know, the exalted is a bonus, but the lifelink is the big thing. So, you know, you give a Pridemate, you know, lifelink, and then it swings. It gets an exalted bonus, plus, you know, whatever other counters it has on it, and then it hits, and then lifelink triggers it again. You gain a shit ton of life. You know, giving Brimaz exalted trigger and lifelink will get you to the magic number 4 to trigger an Angelic Accord if it comes to that. The Battlegrace Angel can swing itself and swings in as a 5/5 lifelink. And on and on and on. Got one Angelic Edict. You know, aside from the Reprisal for a big dude. You also, you know... Okay, this card kind of sucks. But, you know, exile target creature or problem enchantment. Problem enchantments I'm looking at mostly, you know, opposing Angelic Accords. On very rare occasions, opposing Sanguine bonds. Seance is probably a big one right now, thanks to, you know, Sultai Soothsayer entering the format and everyone building those self-mill decks. I like it a little bit better than, where is it? Flesh to Dust. I mean, I flip-flop between Flesh to Dust and Angelic Edict. Really, you don't really need the instant speed too much. I mean, you need a lot of life. You're not going to die out of nowhere. I mean, I'm not saying, like, you know, you can't, you know, be killed very quickly, but, you know, tapping out for a turn, this is a tap-out deck. You tend to tap out a lot. Whether it's, you know, activating Vizkopa or drawing cards like Mentor, blah, 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 blah. That is found, you know, the instant speed and double black. You don't really need it. And, you know, Angelic Edict does have the upside of hitting problem enchantments. And remember, you know, sometimes you just do something as stupid as and hit an aura. You know, you can hit, you know, an ethereal armor with this, an armored ascension with this. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't hit the creature, but you know, that's also it's just something you can do. All right, we got Felidar Sovereign. You know, most of the time it's just a beefy 4/6 with vigilance and lifelink. It's got the match number of 4 to trigger those Angelic Accords. Every now and again, maybe at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 40 more life, you win the game. So there is that, but a lot of the time that won't ever really come into play. Alright, moving on to black, we got 3 Ulcerates. If there was ever a shell that does not really give too much of a shit about the 3 life loss, it is a shell. So this is probably the best 1-mana removal spell in the game. I mean, not probably, it is, unless you know you're at 3 or less life. And you're like, fuck this card. But, you know, target creature gets -3/-3. You know, hits most things in the early game. And, you know, this has value later on. You can, you know, have one of your doofuses like Lone Missionary. You know, I mean, once he's hit the field and gained the 4 life, this ain't doing much for you. But, you know, and, you know, Child of Night, you can have those guys trade up with an Ulcerate. You know, and you go to block your Child of Night with a Storm Breath Dragon, you shrink it, and they trade. You 2 for 1 yourself, but you got rid of a Storm Breath Dragon. You know, I'll trade an Ulcerate and a shitty 2-drop for, you know, their 5 or 6-drop all the time. Alright, go back to Child of Night. 2/1 lifelink. I said 2-drop, lifelink. Has synergy with everything else. Buff them up. Potentially make angels. Potentially do damage to them. And yeah, not too much to say about that. Now that I really look at that picture, what the fuck is wrong with that person's face? Who does she look like? I don't know. I mean, is that how Sonny Bono saw Cher? I guess we'll never know. Anyways, moving on. Vicious Hunger. This is some awful art. I'm sorry, man. Pretty bad sorcery speed removal, but you know, it deals 2 damage and you gain a 2 life. 2 life being key because it can combine with your other gain 2 life dudes to trigger Angelic Accord. So, you know, I mean, you tap out to kill a Kiln Fiend or a Rattle Master or whatever. You know, use it to trade up something like a Lone Missionary and a Child of Night. Only on your turn though. And, you know, gain some life. The double black kind of sucks because we are only running 10 black sources. But with only 2 of them, you don't really get screwed over by it too often. And it's not like you have, like, it's not like a mandatory turn 2 play or anything like that. I mean, I think it holds value at most point in time during the game. I mean, if you even want to get really silly, I mean, you can just use it on your own dude just to gain the life to do the damage directly to your opponent. Alright, moving on. Tribute to Hunger. Now this you cannot use on yourself. Just target opponent. Sacrifices a creature, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. So again, using it for the life link. Only going to run 1 because just a massive token between Young Pyromancer, your standard green-white tokens, and you know your spider spawning tokens. It's just a lot of dudes. But you know, just having 1, you know, at worst, you know, you get a life gain trigger off of it for Pridemate, do a little bit of damage, or you know, even with depending on how many Faithmenders you have in play, you can actually trigger an accord with it. But yeah, just the 1. Every now and again, you know, you'll get something huge with it, and you'll be very happy. But other than that, all right, Sanguine Bond. He is actually this thing. This theoretically do nothing enchantment is the 4th Vizkopa Guildmage. And when you think about it, Vizkopa costs 2, and then you gotta sink in at least 3 right there to do its second ability. Whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. I mean, Sanguine Bond, that's 5 mana too. This is actually, to do that, that's 2 white, 2 black, and 1 colorless, and this is just 2 black, 3 colorless. Now with the Vizkopa Guildmage, you can actually activate that second ability more than once, so those are stacked. Well, this is a little bit, you know, more sturdy. And, you know, this can, you know, do something the turn it comes into play as long as you have a lifelink creature. You know, you go Baneslayer into this, and the Baneslayer hits, I mean, you gain 5 and do 10. And even if they block the Baneslayer, you're still doing 5 to them and gaining 5. So, just 1. You don't want too many of these. Like I said, it's basically the 4th Guildmage. And, yeah, Sanguine. We all learned something new today. Or maybe I just learned something new today. Alright, moving on. Again, on our top end, we have another do nothing. The turn it comes into play, unless you have, like, you cast this with 8 mana. Obelisk of Alara. We are mostly interested in the white ability. You gain 5 life. I mean, as stated before, there are a lot of different ways to take advantage of that life gain. And, you know, the black ability, target creature gets -2/-2. You know, it's a disfigure every turn. So, I mean, it's not the worst. You know, use it to trade up, trade down, whatever. But we're not going to splash, you know. I mean, I guess, theoretically, instead of these Orzhov guild gates, I can, see, what modes would we actually want? Actually, yeah, here we go. Alright, let's not be stupid here. I think the best mode, aside from the white and black for this deck, would be the green. So we'll do that. Here are these fools. We don't really need gates or anything. And then we can have 1. I mean, I only want to run, you know, 4 tap lands. Since we have 4 Radiant Fountains. So that's like 8 cards that kind of mess with our curve. I mean, a Radiant Fountain doesn't always mess with our curve. Usually doesn't, but sometimes it can. And then we'll have 4 tap lands. So, you know, the blue one can be good. We don't really need, you know, we can top out 6, maybe 8 lands. Usually 6 is the sweet spot. You know, you can double activate Vizkopa Guildmage. So we can use a blue mode to pitch extra lands. But I think actually the green mode is the most important mode. Is way better than the blue mode. So we'll max out on the green mode of Obelisk. And just, you know, have the blue one in there. So there we go. 4 Orzhov Guild Gates into Tri-lands. So anyways, that's what we want out of the Obelisk. And then finally, you know, another big reason to play a Lifegain deck, especially an Orzhov one, is this little gothed out Tinkerbell. I I mean, I don't know. To me, like, you know, that collar thing that's like sticking out in the back, those look like little fairy wings to me. Maybe I'm just, you know, on drugs. Like, you know, you zoom out, it looks like, you know, little flappy fairy wings, like, you know, Oberyn, you know, the king of fairies. I mean, I don't even know if that's a dude or a girl, to be honest with you. But to me, it looks like a fairy. Anyways, you know, it's a 2-drop, white and black. You give a creature lifelink, and you can also, its second ability is basically the Sanguine bond. And you can actually stack this ability on the Vizkopa Guildmage. And also, once you activate that ability, the Vizkopa Guildmage can just die. It doesn't matter. So, you know, you activate it, and for whatever reason, you know, they kill it, or, you know, they kill it, they go to kill it, and you can activate its second ability in response. That ability will still trigger, you know, whenever you gain life this turn. That's the keyword, this turn. Each opponent loses that much life. You'll actually see it trigger from your graveyard. I tested this. I tested this. I did something stupid, like, you know, I activated its ability, and then I killed it with the Vicious Hunger. So, you know, I gained the 2 life, and I did 2 damage to my opponent. And then, after it was already in the graveyard, I went and played a Radiant Fountain, and I gained 2, and still did 2 to my opponent. So, speaking of lands and Radiant Fountains, neat little trick you can do with the Radiant Fountain of Vizkopa Guildmage. When you put a Radiant Fountain into play, like, that triggers. Like, when Radiant Fountain enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life. So you can respond to that trigger, but that land's already into play. So you can play a Radiant Fountain, and before that trigger resolves, use the Radiant Fountain mana to help, you know, pay for the second ability. So, you know, you gain 2, you do 2 to your opponent. So yeah, let's go over to lands. You know, we have our little color distribution table here, 24, 14, and 1x, that doesn't matter. So, but, you know, because we have, you know, double black, just 2 of them, and 4 black 2-drops, I don't want to go too low on the black, so we have 10 black sources versus 14 white sources, even though there's obviously way more white than there is black. But, you know, when you're making your little mana, and I wing this, you know, I don't have you know, math tables anywhere sitting around my apartment, you know, doing all these complex calculations. I'm just like, okay, I have this many black cards. When do I want to play them? When do I need to play them? So I think 10 is enough. And then I think I already touched on the Radiant Fountain. You know, there aren't very strict color requirements in the deck. You know, we're not playing Planar Cleansing or anything crazy like that. We're not playing Grizzlebrand. So, in my experience, the Radiant Fountains very rarely fuck you over. Now, you know, you always want the Radiant Fountain to be the last land in your hand to play. So let's say you keep a hand of, you know, Swamp, Plains, Radiant Fountain. And it comes to turn 3, I mean, just play your fucking Radiant Fountain. Like, don't hold on to it. But, you know, if you're drawing other lands in the meantime, like, play those lands instead of playing the Fountain. Because you can, you know, you get so much mileage out of this for just playing a land. Just so many different things you can do, whether it's, you know, direct damage to your opponent, triggering Pridemate, triggering Angelic Accord. I mean, all that on a land that, you know, all decks need. Alright, so let's go, I guess, touch on the Lifegain cards we're not playing. Like Swift Justice, this is not a combat trick. I mean, I don't even really like combat tricks in most decks. The potential for 2-for-1s are just too great, and we're not playing that. So what else? What else we got here? This does not, what the hell? Oh, because it's just instants. Alright, show me everything. That doesn't do lifelink. I mean, that's just a 1/1 lifelink. Remember, the match number is 4. So this would need like 2 Rhox Faithmenders out, or, you know. I mean, just the 1 life, it's just not good enough, even though it would trigger the Pridemate. Match number 4. So we are looking at 2, 4, and above that. What else we got here? We already went over Swift Justice. Ordeal of Heliod. Now, when this game first came out, you know, I liked this a lot with the Ajani's Pridemates, because, you know, you had Ajani's Pridemate already at 2 counters. You know, you slap this on it and swing, then it gets to 3 counters. Because Ordeal of Heliod only cares, you know, the amount of +1/+1 counters on it, not, you know, where those counters came from. So, you know, you can trigger it right off the bat and gain 10 life. But again, it's an enchantment, and the opportunities to get 2 for 1, they're just too great with that. I mean, sometimes, it's amazing. You gain 10 and even do 10. And then other times, you just get blown the fuck out. And I decided to, limit my risk of getting blown the fuck out. Alright, moving on. Any other Lifegain people around here? Let's see. Up here we go. Meditation puzzle. You gain 8 life. Double white and 3, but you can also convoke it, so you can use your dudes to help pay for those mana costs. But as you can see, even you're not getting life. All these cards do something. Even after Lone Missionary gains you to 4 life, it's still a 2/1. Like this, all it does is gain you 8 life. It does nothing but that by itself. So you don't really want cards that basically don't do a whole lot by themselves. You don't want cards that are just highly dependent on other cards. I mean, 2/1s aren't that great. 2/1 Lone Missionary, 2/1 Lifelink Child of Night. But, at the worst case scenario, there's still 2/1s at the end of the day. All this does is just gain you 8 life. Like, if you're behind, you don't have a board presence, what the fuck is this going to do for you? It's going to gain you 8 life. Maybe it'll buy you 1 turn. Not good enough. Alright, let's see. Like, between, Sanguine Bond, Angelic Cord, Obelisk of Alara, and all our other dudes, this deck is very permanent based. So we want our permanents to stay on the table. We don't want, a panic cleansing to reset everything and we have to rebuild all over again. A lot of decks maybe build faster than us, so I don't think that's necessary. Resolute Archangel, it costs 7. It does gain life, but only if we're below 20. Other than that, it's just a highly overcosted Air Elemental, which is the common name for 4/4 flyers. So we don't need that. What is this? That doesn't gain life. Suffer the Past. I'm not putting sideboard cards in any main deck. Some of you people may swear by it. If I play a stretch of games where, 29 out of my 30 games are against, graveyard decks, I may consider putting a Suffer the Past in, but I'd probably consider that for about 0.3 seconds and then just say no. I just don't like putting sideboard cards in main decks. You may like it, go nuts. This gains life, but just 1 life. Awful. So I think we touched on the Highborn a little bit. I mean, we do have 4 vampires. But, double black, and then, her ability costs black. Just a lot of black. Too much black. What else? We want to play all 4 Vicious Hungers because of that double black, but, I think 2's the sweet spot. Need early removal. I mean, I don't know. If you find, like, you're having, like, too much early game removal and not enough late game removal, you can even cut one of these things. Just go down to 1 and fit another Angelic Edict or Reprisal or even a Flush to Dust if you want. Probably not another one of these. I think, in our token heavy metagame, you only want 1 tribute. Alright, let's see what else gains life around here. Phyrexian Rage loses you life, but I don't really draw a card, lose on life. I don't care. I don't care about that. Like, what are you doing? I'm just gonna spend 3 mana just to have this guy replace itself for a vanilla 2/2 that has no real synergy with the rest of the deck. Nope. We already went over Graveworn Muse. Combat Tricks. I'm not getting blown up by Combat Tricks. And it's up to 2 target creatures, so you can just target 1. Up to being the keywords here, but we're not doing that. We are not doing that. We already went over why we're not doing 2 Sanguine Bonds. Rot Feaster Maggot. I mean, 3/5. You don't know if this will get you to the magic number of 4. You just don't. So I'm not going to play that. We do run 4 vampires. So, but I mean, this is 6 mana. And if you don't have a vampire, they just lose half their life. Which, could be good. I mean, if they haven't done any damage to them, that's 10 life. They're 8. You spend 6 mana to do 4 life at sorcery speed. I mean, obviously, Blood Tribute, Sanguine Bond, Child of Night is you instantly win. But, that's all. It's like, I don't really know what to think of this, to be honest with you. If you want to try it out, like, what are you going to take out for it? It's just 6 mana for a very, very narrow effect. I don't know. They said you're only gaining the life if you have a Child of Night in play and are at 6 mana. Otherwise, it's just a direct damage spell. It's like a black Skullcrack almost. I don't know. Yeah, but I don't think it really fits too well. Like I said, we're playing black, but you know we don't need to go that big. Covenant of Blood deals 4 to target future player, and you gain 4 life. But you know it is a 7 mana sorcery. Even with Convoke, that is very, very expensive. I don't want to have to tap down 3 dudes and 4 mana. I mean, even if I have 3 dudes and 4 mana to do 4 and gain 4 at sorcery speed. Like if this was an instant, maybe, but not at sorcery speed. I know 4 is the magic number, but the cost on this is just way too ridiculous. Grizzlebrand, you got those 4 blacks. That's way too much. And with all the other synergies that's going on in this deck, you don't really need an 8-drop. Anything else gains life around here? Nope. Not that I can tell. So anyways, that is the Lifegain deck. Really, the only changes to this, from since the beginning of Duels 2015, we have an Obelisk, and we have a Felidar Sovereign. Oh, and 2 Battlegrace Angels. Other than that, this has mostly been the same deck since the beginning. But, oh, and the Tri-Lance. But, that mostly just feeds into the Obelisk. So anyways, that's my take on one of the oldest archetypes in the game. I'll be putting this thing through its paces for 3 episodes, and holy shit, I have rambled for almost 37 minutes. Thank you to everyone who stuck through this, and we'll see you soon for some games. Thanks, and take care. Bye.